Gildan Media presents Your Coach in a Box, affordable, life-changing audio programs. Gildan Media presents an unabridged recording of Living Without Strain, The Inner Meaning of the Book of Job, by Dr. Joseph Murphy, narrated by Pratt. Living Without Strain. The Book of Job is one of the most important, significant, and profound books of the Bible. It has been the subject of theological and philosophical debate for many centuries. The main theme of the book deals with human suffering, setting forth the story of a just and upright man who, apparently through no fault of his own, meets with all kinds of dire misfortune and calamities, and finally recoups all his losses and experiences happiness, prosperity, and peace of mind. The sublimity, spiritual insight, imagery, symbolic beauty, and excellence of expression make it an ever-recurrent inspiration. Its depth of feeling and contemplative content touches the heartstrings and plays upon them, the eternal song of triumph, victory, and the power to overcome all obstacles. The great truths embodied in the Book of Job are indeed a sanctuary to all which may turn for guidance and light on their problems, for it is a sanctuary built out of the treasure house of the light of the One who forever is. It opens the door to faith and understanding. It embodies the great law of life. The book consists of 5 parts. 1. The prologue, written like the epilogue in prose, which is chapter 1. 2. The colloquies of Job and his friends, which are chapters 3 through 31. Part 3, the speeches of Elihu, chapters 32 through 37. Part 4, the speeches of Jehovah out of the storm with brief answers by Job, chapters 38 through 42. And finally, Part 5, the epilogue. 2 literary styles are represented in the Book of Job, narrative prose and didactic poetry. Both, however, are exquisitely presented and artistically executed. The contents of the Book of Job are essentially a profound psychological inquiry into the mystery of experience. Scholars do not know who wrote the Book of Job, but include it in the group of books of wisdom, of which it is doubtless one of the greatest. The whole drama is of legendary origin, but it is essentially the story of all men. Spiritually speaking, you are Job yourself, as you come out of the fog and are regenerated by the interior light, and begin to sense that God is pushing through you into open manifestation, emerging out of misery and suffering into the beatific vision. Comments on Chapter 1, the Book of Job, verses 1 through 6. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God, and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went, and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For, Job said, It may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. The first verse means that we are all born into this world, which is called Uz, that is, the conditioned state. We are born into all that our environment represents, and are conditioned by parental influence, environmental surroundings, plus the influence of the race mind. Every individual is really a group of beliefs, opinions, and concepts which clothe the real being. The word man in Sanskrit means the measurer. Hence, man is a mind that measures all things. You are in the land of Uz, a conditioned world or state of limitation, bondage, and restriction, until you awaken to your inner potentialities. Every child born in the world is the infinite one assuming the form of that child. You come into this world for the joy of self-discovery. If your inner powers functioned automatically, you would never be able to discover yourself. It is possible for you to use the life forces both positively and negatively, otherwise you would never be able to grow, expand, or deduce a law from them. All of us remain under the bondage of our hereditary concepts, early theological training, and doctrinal beliefs until we learn about the creative capacity of our own mind to alter conditions and bring to fruition the cherished desires of our heart. On the heels of the discovery of the mental and spiritual laws of life, you throw off the yoke of bondage and cease to submit to the hypnotic spell of the world of opinions and false beliefs. In order to awaken to your higher powers, you must cease being a baby and break this infantile identification with the fleshy self. You must prove that you are not just flesh, but merely functioning in the flesh. All your thoughts, feelings, emotions, imaginings, and dreams are invisible, and I cannot see your mind or spirit. Neither can I perceive your faith, hope, trust, love, joy, affection, pondering, desires, longings, aversions, likes or dislikes. All are themselves invisible. They constitute you. You are much more than your body. The latter is simply your mind condensed or spirit in manifestation. In verse 1 it says, "The man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil." The average child born in love is free from fear, sickness, and distortions of any kind. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of sound mind. When young, you had wonderful health. You were bubbling over with energy, joy, enthusiasm, and vitality. You knew nothing about war, crime, sickness, disease, man's inhumanity to man, or the conflicting theologies, or the maze of religious dogmas, and the superstitious fears of the multitude. In the cradle you were innocent, and in your imagination you proudly played with angels. Verse 2. Your 7 sons are seeing, feeling, tasting, hearing, smelling, conceiving, and reproduction. In early life, we naturally use these faculties positively, actively, mostly in good experiences. When these faculties become passive, receptive, and subject to external negative influences and false concepts, they become symbolized as 7 daughters. Moses meets 7 daughters in Egypt. See Exodus chapter 2, verse 16. The 3 daughters mentioned in verse 2 are in all of us. It is the Trinity or the creative capacity in all of us which enables us to bring forth our ideas as form, experience, and events. There were Trinitarian doctrines long before Christianity. The doctrine of the Trinity or triune God was taught in ancient India, Babylon, China, Egypt, and all the countries of the northern latitudes. In China, the Trinity was symbolized as the Father, Mother, and Child, or idea, feeling, and manifestation. It takes 2 things to produce a third. A clear and definite thought plus a warmth of feeling will bring about a fusion resulting in a third expression, which is the answer to your prayer. The ancient Hebrews wrote under a system of numerical symbolism, and if we add 7 plus 3, we get 10. And the latter symbolizes God in action in our lives. 0 is the symbol of the female, and 1 is the symbol of the male. In simple language, the book of Job is telling us about the interaction of the male and female principle within ourselves, or the interplay of our conscious and subconscious mind. Each letter in the Hebrew language is assigned a numerical value, and if we add up the Hebrew letters of the name Job, we get 10, or the complete man. J is 1, O is 7, B is 2. So 1 plus 7 plus 2 is 10. The subconscious mind might be called your wife, and the conscious reasoning mind the husband. Your body is simply the instrument which your mind uses. Our conscious and subconscious mind are always interacting, and from their union come forth all our experiences, conditions, and circumstances, whether positive or negative. The harmonious and peaceful interrelationship of these two phases of our mind produce health, success, and joyous living. The male element in you may be considered as your idea, thought, plan, image, or purpose. The female in you is emotion, feeling, enthusiasm, faith, and receptivity. The male and female principle exists in all of us, and this is the reason you are creative and have the power to bring forth out of the depth of yourself that which you emotionalize and feel is true within yourself. When your idea and feeling unite and become one, that one is God in action. For your divine creative power is now made manifest as guidance, health, healing, or true place in life. There is one creative power in all the world, and that creative power is God. When you discover the power of your thought and feeling, you have discovered the power of God in yourself. All the trials, tribulations, sufferings, and misery of our neurotic age are due to the inharmonious interaction between the conscious and the subconscious of men and women everywhere. When you enthrone the proper concepts and ideas in the conscious mind, these will generate the right feeling. Then, the mind and the heart, or the male and female principle, are working together in concord and unity. If our thoughts are negative, our feelings will also be negative because emotions follow thought. If your thoughts are fearful, vicious, and destructive, powerful negative emotions are generated and lodged in the inner recesses of your subconscious mind. These negative emotions get snarled up and form complexes, and inasmuch as emotions must have an outlet, it is obvious that such emotions will erupt in disease and destructive mental aberrations of all kinds. Verses 5, 6, and 7. The first thing you should do when you arise in the morning is to commune with God and invoke His blessings and aspirations on all your undertakings for the day. Put God first in your life. The sons spoke of in verse 5 are ideas, thoughts, plans, and images of the mind. These must be sanctified by seeing to it that all your thoughts, ideas, and purposes conform to the divine standard of whatsoever things are true, noble, lovely, and of good report. Do not condemn yourself if your sons, meaning your thoughts, are negative, or for getting out of sorts at times, but fill your mind with the eternal truths of God and become recharged spiritually. That depressed feeling may be due to the influence of the great psychic sea in which we all live. The moods of fear, hate, jealousy, intrigue, and doubt are in the race mind, and in an unguarded moment these negative vibrations may enter our mind, and we feel gloomy, despondent, and sad. The negative mental and emotional atmosphere of a place could penetrate your mind and dampen your spirits, inhibit your enthusiasm, and generally put the brakes on your ardor. When this happens, go within, and with the sword of truth and spiritual understanding, cast out the dark and false thoughts, and affirm your trust, faith, and confidence in the love and goodness of God. Verse 6. Sons of God represent good, constructive ideas, which come out of the depths of yourself as inspiration and holy desires. Satan means opposition to your enemy. You are told the enemies are of your own household or mind. You must look within for the evil one or negative thought in your mind. The supposed dialogue taking place between the Lord and Satan, as mentioned in verse 7, merely means the argumentative process or spiritual reasoning taking place in your own mind, whereby you cast out the opposing thoughts in your mind and accept your ideal. The Lord is your dominant desire, the idea which is uppermost in your mind. It might be the desire for health, true place, or guidance you are seeking. You know that your thoughts come as pairs. You desire health, which is an affirmative and positive concept. But immediately there arises an opposing or negative concept to challenge it. You desire wealth, and an opposing thought comes into your mind, reminding you perhaps that you are broke, and that all is lost, and there is no way out. There is no devil going to and fro on the earth, planting negative thoughts in our mind. But for every yea, there is a nay. The so-called devil is the belief in a suppositional opposing power to God, which creates a conflict in the mind, causing a double-minded or unstable state. The enemy, destroyer, adversary, or devil is a belief in lack, limitation, failure, sickness, and intimations of impotency and inadequacy which you allow to creep into the mind. The devils which bedevil you are your hates, jealousies, fears, anxieties, and tensions. The word Satan means to err, to slip, to turn away from God and the truth, and from the belief in one power. Satan also means the race mind, the world mind which impinges on all of us, casting its hypnotic spell of lack, limitation, and misery. Satan is nothing trying to be something. You reject Satan when you completely root out of your mind incisively and decisively the thought that you can not achieve or accomplish. You must positively refuse to admit fears and doubts into your mind, because these are lies about omnipotence or God which are within you. The thought of failure is an illusion of power. It has no power. Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Verse 7 tells you that Satan is a myth, for there is no such being going to and fro in the earth, and walking up and down in it. An old acquaintance of mine placed implicit trust in his partner. The latter proved to be deceitful, and betrayed his trust in him, and absconded with all the money in the bank. My friend was strongly tempted to resent and hate him, and wish for him all manner of evil. He said to me, I took that man in, befriended him, gave him 50% interest in the business without any financial consideration. He began to grow very bitter, until I pointed out the dangers and the disastrous results which would follow his destructive passion of anger, hatred, and animosity. He realized suddenly and instantaneously that the enemy, devil, was not another person, but a hateful thought of his own choosing, which would ultimately destroy him, physically and mentally. He completely rejected the temptation to think viciously and destructively of the other, and he began to invoke the influx of the Holy Spirit into his life, claiming God's guidance and his love regularly and systematically. He changed his thoughts to conform to divine law of love and goodwill. He blessed and prayed for his ex-partner, who disappeared into some foreign country and was never found. Every time he thought of him, he said, God be with you. Finally, he was able to meet his former partner in his mind and actually emanate a wave of God's peace to him. The acid test of forgiveness is to ask yourself, how do I meet John or Mary in my mind? Do you radiate goodwill and God's blessing to them? If a wave of peace or inner benediction from your heart wells up, you can rest assured that you have cleansed both your conscious and subconscious mind. Verses 8 through 11. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord, and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Here Satan is depicted as answering the Lord, Oh yes, Job is true to you, Lord, so long as all goes well with his fortune. Let something bad turn up, and he will curse thee to thy face. The cry of Job is the cry of every man who walks the earth. That which I am and that which I want to be are always quarreling in my mind. Through spiritual awareness, man can solve this problem. There is the inner desire to grow, expand, achieve, accomplish, and move forward. There is the divine or cosmic urge in all of us to release our God-given powers and attributes and go forth, conquering, and to conquer. However, conditions, circumstances, opinions of others, and fear thoughts in our mind impede our progress. The material facts seem to preclude and obstruct the realization of our desires. Man wants a healing, but he is told he is incurable, that the condition is hopeless. He listens to opinions of friends, and becomes unduly impressed by the formidable barriers erected by them, and finally he succumbs to the hopelessness and despair. This is the perennial quarrel between the lower and the higher self of man, between you and your ideal or desire, the material facts of life, the race mind beliefs, challenging the spiritual aspirations, urges, and ideals within you. Your personal Lord is your dominant idea or desire, or that which commands your attention. Whatever interests you most may be considered your Lord because it rules your thoughts and emotions. If you are sick, you detach your attention from all your aches, symptoms, and pains, and begin to concentrate on the healing presence within, knowing that your whole body is being transformed by His healing light, feeling and knowing that as you call upon it, you receive an answer which is perfect health and harmony. Focusing your attention on God and His healing rays, you are present with your Lord. Satan, or negative thoughts, challenges you as you pray for a healing. This means fear, doubt, anxiety arises in your mind, trying to dissuade you from believing in the power of God. These race-mind thoughts and opinions of man will sometimes mock you, and laugh at you, and say to you, It's impossible. It's too late now. You are too far gone. It's hopeless. Whenever there is such a quarrel in the mind, or whenever you suffer from any limitation, restriction, or sense of bondage, this is Satan, or the so-called devil alongside your goal or ambition. Dr. Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, the antecessor and father of mental and spiritual healing in this country, used the argumentative method of healing in many of his cases, which is so popular today. Quimby would say to the patient, Give me your case, and I will plead for you before the great tribunal, and prove your innocence. And he had remarkable and amazing results. The whole process resolved itself into realizing that the sickness or disease was due to a false idea, distorted pattern, or false direction given the mind which accepted the picture you gave it and brought forth accordingly. Quimby's process was to convince the patient that thoughts are things, and that the spirit within us is God. He built up evidence for the truth showing that fear and sickness, disease, are not of God, but due to negative thinking, and that these thoughts solidified and became tumorous growths, tuberculosis, etc., in the body. He explained to his patients that their fears were groundless because there is no external power, no power but God. He pointed out to his patients that God cannot be sick, frustrated, or unhappy, that the sickness, problem, or difficulty is called Satan because it denies the true spiritual values necessary for our unfoldment. The negative thought in the mind has no principle behind it, no power in and of itself, nothing to back it up. It is a shadow of the mind. It merely denies the positive values within you. Quimby taught his patients to give all power to God in his healing presence. His method was to contemplate their divine perfection and redirect their minds according to the divine archetype of harmony, health, and peace. Remarkable healings followed this process and methodology. You overcome Satan by detaching yourself from the world and sense evidence and being mentally present with the wisdom and power of the Almighty. Let your attention rest in God and His love, remembering wherever your attention is, there the creative power of God moves on your behalf. All the power of the Infinite One relative to you and your desire is present, and operating at that focal point of attention. This was the secret of Quimby's remarkable healings, and the same process will bring countless blessings in your life. Verses 15 through 17. The Sabaeans fell upon them, and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came another, and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone am escaped to tell thee. Where these and other verses in chapter 1 speak of Sabaeans, Chaldeans, etc., they represent thoughts of limitation and temperance, beliefs in the power of stars, bondage to the past, such as karma, which enter into Job's mind to plague him. Verse 21, And said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Here we are dealing with the law of cause and effect, which is impersonal. It will bring forth sickness or health, peace or pain, sorrow or joy, poverty or abundance, success or failure with the same completeness. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. You must realize the interchangeability of Lord and law. It is not that a God of love creates a devil or evil. The answer is that the law, meaning the Lord, is the automatic bringer of man's thoughts into manifestation. Think evil, evil follows. Think good, good follows. Your mind is like water which takes the shape of any vessel in which it is poured. The vessel is your thought patterns and your mental imagery, which the creative power flows through and brings to pass in your experience. Your deeper mind, called the subconscious, is the fabricator, which weaves the pattern of your thoughts into your experience and conditions. Feed the mind with premises which are true, noble, and godlike, and you will find the subconscious is your best friend, providing that which is beautiful, lovely, and glorious in your outer world. Comments on Chapter 2, the Book of Job. Verses 3 through 9. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him, to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered the Lord, and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils, from the sole of his feet unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd, to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?